Hi, okay, welcome to Ayurvedic cooking. We're just gonna give a little cooking demonstration today to show you the fundamentals of Ayurveda, how we cook in Ayurveda. You all have the recipe for the Kitchari, and I'm gonna be making a Kitchari today. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit beforehand about the different varieties you can have of Kitchari. Traditionally, Kitchari is going to be using a rice and mung bean combination. The rice that I typically use is just white basmati, and I think that's good for all three doshas. And this is mung bean, mung dal actually. When you have dal after the name of a bean, the dal means that the bean has been sliced in half. And what's significant about that is that the bigger the bean, the more difficult it's going to be on your digestion. So while pittas may be able to digest a big hearty red bean, vatas may really have trouble with that. So it's recommended, especially in a time of detox, to use a smaller bean, and the fact that it's split makes it even smaller, so a little bit easier to digest. So this is mung dal. But when you're cooking, you don't have to stay just with the rice and mung dal. You can use any grain you want. You can use any bean you want. And I have a lot of fun playing with this palette. I've tried several different kinds of beans. This is kaniwa, which is a very small grain. It's got a nutty flavor. It's pretty good. I've also used red rice in my kitcharis. I've also used black rice or forbidden rice. That's a lot of fun. This is a grain mixture of, it's got quinoa, millet, and buckwheat in it. And I use quinoa a lot as well. Lots of different beans we could go with. Again, we want to try to stay with the smaller beans because they're easier on the digestion, unless you're just a great pitta with a hearty appetite, a good agni, then the larger beans would work. But some other beans, this is a black lentil. It's really the smallest of the lentils, so that's a nice small one to start with. And there's many different varieties of lentils. The red lentils around Louisiana, we have a lot of green lentils. And so you could have any variety of those things for your bean and your grain. And then, of course, the vegetable part of this, you can have quite a variety of things as well. But the goal is to really use a variety of colors. So we want orange things and purple things and green things and yellow things. And you can use any combination that your brain can dream up. Sometimes I even add different kinds of nuts to my kitcharis. And there are different nuts that are good for the different doshas. Sunflower kernels, pepitas, pine nuts are good for pittas. Also, the more astringent nuts like walnuts can really be good in a time of detox. But again, go with your intuition, go with your creative side, and create whatever your body is asking for on that day. So, that's just some different examples, and then we'll come over here and we'll start cooking. So to start with, I've got my rice and my mung dal mixed together in here. Basically, you're going to be cooking in proportions. So whatever your measurement is, you're going to use 1 part of rice, 1 part of the mung dal. My measurement was 1/4 cup, so I have measured that out into the pot. Now I'm going to put in 5 parts of water, and I use filtered water. You can use whatever resonates for you. 3, 4, 5. Okay, and so we'll start this boil on a high temperature just until it starts boiling. And once it starts boiling, we'll turn that fire down so that it can simmer until all of the fluids are absorbed. While that's going, I always get my vegetable part ready. And so the idea here is that you're going to start with a basic oil. It can be sesame, it can be olive, it can be coconut is one I use a lot of, and another really good starting point would be ghee, if you have that. But you're going to use 1 tablespoon of whatever oil you choose per serving. Now my kitchari is going to come out to be about 2 servings, so I'm going to use two tablespoons of coconut oil. Sorry for the banging. And we're going to let that melt down. Out of the way. And while that's melting, I start to put my spices in. And again, this is another time to tap into that creative side of you and figure out what your body's asking for. I have a variety of spices here: mustard seeds, coriander, cumin, fennel. This is ground cumin, this is ground coriander, and so you can paint whatever picture you want. I'm going to use these last little bit of mustard seeds. I always start with mustard seeds for a reason that I'll explain in just a minute. As these mustard seeds heat up, they will start to pop, and that lets you know that your spices are ready. So I've got some cumin, some coriander. Put a little fennel in there for the cooling effect. I'm also going to do, that's water popping in the pot, sorry. I like to add a little bit of turmeric, maybe a half of a teaspoon, fourth of a teaspoon. You can even use some of the sweeter spices like cinnamon. Put a little nutmeg in there because nutmeg has some calming properties. We'll mix this up a bit. Lots of water in that pot, that's what's bubbling. So we let that heat. I get my oil melted and then I turn my fire down to medium-high heat. And most Ayurvedic cooking is done at medium-high heat. I'm also going to take the time and add a little salt. Salt's not a great taste for pittas in particular, but salt helps augment all the other flavors. So it's important to put a little bit of that in there. I'm also going to add some black pepper. And so while this is preparing, I'm going to just talk a little bit about taste with Ayurvedic cooking. It's really important to have all 6 tastes present at each meal. Even though, say, sweet, sour, salt is best for vadas and bitter, astringent, and sweet is better for pittas, we want to have a little bit of all 6 tastes in the food, and that there's a very important reason for this. The reason is that the chemical reaction in the taste buds of the different tastes stimulate the different parts of the GI tract to prepare them for digesting the food. So it's very important to have sweet taste to start the digestive process that goes on in the mouth. That's where that action happens for sweet taste. Astringent prepares the colon. So, and each taste has a specific location in the GI tract that it gets going, preparing it to digest. If you look down here at the spice again, you'll start to notice, my seeds haven't started popping yet, but you'll start to notice that the spice and the oil are starting to separate on the side. And that usually happens right about the time the mustard seeds start popping, which you can see right now they're doing. So you see how it's separating the spice from the oil, and things are popping. So I'm going to start adding my veggies. Actually, I'm going to stir my rice and mung beans and turn that fire down. We keep it covered. So I'm going to start adding my vegetables. I'm going to go with the harder vegetables first because they need the longer time to cook. So that would be my carrots for this little palette. I'll add those in. And I'll stir to make sure they're good and coated with the spices and the oil. And we'll cover this and let it cook for a minute. And we'll give that a little bit of time and come back and add some more of the vegetables. I've had some time to cook down. I'm going to go ahead and add the green beans. And after that, in a few more minutes, I'll add the squash and wait for a few minutes for that. And then we'll add the cabbage last. Again, we'll stir this up. Oops, got a little piece of squash in there. Stir it up, make sure the beans are coated with our spice mixture. I'm also, and you can do this at any point, if you're paying attention, we've got sweet taste in here, we've got astringent, the cabbage is going to be bitter and astringent. We have our salt, we have our spices, which account for the pungent taste. One thing we don't have is sour, so I'm going to squeeze a little bit of lime. Lime is really much better, particularly in the summertime when it's hotter, than lemon for a lime taste, and for a sour taste. So I'll put that in there. So our taste buds will be appropriately stimulated. Stir that in. And you can add that in at any time. Alright, so I'm adding the last of my veggies, which is the cabbage. Again, I'm going to stir all that in. And just to give you a little hint about what I've been doing, I stir everything really well. I periodically will come back to my rice and mung bean pot and stir that as it's simmering. You can see it's still got a little bit of water left to absorb. Sometimes as I'm cooking my vegetables, I can notice that my spices are looking a little stuck on the bottom of the pan. And when that happens, I'll just add a little bit of water, just to bring those spices up a little bit, to get them back in the mixture. And then we will let this continue to cook. I'm going to cover that so that the moisture can get into those harder vegetables and get them cooked. So everything's kind of getting close. The veggies are really done. Everything's nice and soft, but look at the beautiful colors there. It's just vibrant. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off, and the rice and mung are almost finished boiling. So while that's absorbing the last little bit of moisture, I want to talk to you about a really important aspect of cooking. Whether you're cooking Ayurvedically or cooking some other style, it's really, really important that you have good energy going into your food, because if you're happy, your food will taste better. It'll be more nourishing to the people that you're feeding. If you're rushing and worried, that energy goes into the food, and you're going to end up having gas because of all the vata from the worry. Or if you're angry, you'll end up having heartburn afterward because of the excess pitta going into the food. So make sure that your heart is light, that your mind is in a happy place. Whether you're cooking for yourself or your entire family, put love into those meals, and it will be more nourishing for you and the people that you're feeding. So the mung and the rice are all done. All the moisture's absorbed. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put this together. So I'm going to empty my rice and mung dal into the veggies. And we're going to stir this up. Isn't that beautiful? I just love it. I'll dish these up straight from the pot. Oops. And this is a good serving. Whatever your hand bowl looks like. This is about as much as your stomach needs to fill it. So that happens to be about the size of my bowls. So we'll spoon this out and you're ready to eat. So thanks for joining me for this talk on Ayurvedic cooking, and I hope you enjoy your food.